Paul Egan Wright. And now that we've gotten through the piece, we can tell you the real story. So that was the first time any of us, Paula or the band, had gotten to actually do it with her doing the vocals. She was going to be here last night, wasn't feeling very good, got stuck in Helena, and so the band FaceTimed her last night. We were here, we ran through it, she was out there in one of the chairs on my Mac, and we were like, oh, hey, we think we could wing this. And we did. Good job, Paula. That was great. All right. Looks like we have another announcement. No? Next part of the program. I don't even know where we are. Well, according to my thing, it's the introduction for the evening, and that would be you. So I'm going to stop talking and let you do what you need to do.
Welcome to the evening. Before I begin, I found this pair of glasses under my chair when I was sitting over there when I came in, and I will take them over after my talk to the concession stand if they happen to be any of yours. We are moving now to the evening's entertainment. But before we do, my sincere congratulations on behalf of the mayor and the city commission to the Camerons. Everything that has been said, we couldn't agree with more. Tonight marks the 129th time in the history of Great Falls that the Great Falls Community Municipal Band has lured us to the city center through the power of music to celebrate E Pluribus Unum, the Latin motto on our national seal. Out of many people, one. Think of it. In 1898, 129 years ago, women still wore corsets. The automobile was just an unreliable novelty. A trolley track ran down Central Avenue. This city had rudimentary plumbing and had nothing like the iconic structure behind me that places the performing arts quite literally at the heart of city government. Yet that year, a band that began in Black Eagle expanded and pronounced itself this city's community band, the Municipal Band of Great Falls. That band played the music that brought this entire community together regularly, but especially as the 4th of July approached every year. We might have heard some John Sousa back then. We might have been tonight. Marches were the mother's milk of municipal bands back then. As the years went by, though, the program changed to include jazz, swing, pop, Broadway. So did the band. You won't find a farrier, a telegraph operator, or an ice cutter, I'm guessing, in today's band. And the band members of old would have gawked in disbelief if you had told them that an airplane mechanic or a computer programmer would be playing today. But they would not have been surprised that people from all walks of life put away the tools of their trade once a week to lift a horn, or pound a drum, or clang the cymbals, and create one big beautiful sound. No human endeavor more perfectly captures the concept of e pluribus unum. The painter, the writer, the sculptor, they create alone, and we enjoy their artistry primarily in solitude. Only the performing arts communicate as a community to a community, each performer contributing a small part to something big, something bigger than the sum of its parts, something that not only pleases the community, but for a fleeting moment creates one anew. Through the decades, the Great Falls Municipal Band has serenaded presidents, celebrated military victories, and comforted the unfortunate. But mostly it has entertained us, the people of Great Falls, Montana, and reminded us of the bond that ties us together, the love of this shared space, the commitment to a shared ethos, the shared enterprise of making our community a great one. Tonight, we join in that celebration for the 129th time. But this occasion is truly historic because tonight we also pay tribute to the man who will be leading the celebration for the last time, Mr. Bud Nicholls. If a municipal band is the epitome of e pluribus unum, Bud is the epitome of ex uno plures. The gift of this one individual has brought gifts to countless individuals and groups in our city and beyond it. If a river runs through the life of Bud Nicholls, and it does, it is the babbling brook of music. He spent his first 5 years of life on the road, traveling with his father, who played the organ for the circus and the ice capades. He took up the trumpet early on, graduated from a very fine, perhaps the finest, university in the state, with a degree in music education. My apologies to the parents. He has taught every age level of student, from kindergarten to graduate school. He has worked in merchandising for music. He has owned a downtown music business that served budding and veteran musicians from throughout central Montana for decades. He has mentored kids and teachers for over half a century. When his father died, he took the helm of the Harold Nicholls Big Band, which has been thrilling audiences and getting people on their feet to dance for 60 years now. And for the past 41 years, he has been the conductor of the band this community has come to hear for 129 years. People like to joke that Bud must have been here at the creation. Of course he wasn't, but he has been a part of this band as a player and then as a conductor for 66 years, more than half of its long history. As its conductor, he has kept this community band and this community itself together for some of its toughest years. It's easy to come together as a city when a city is young and full of dreams, as it was a century ago, or growing and prosperous and thriving as it was half a century ago. It's a little harder when the well-paid blue-collar jobs disappear, the stack comes tumbling down, the energy crisis is both literal and figurative, and the community struggles to find a vibrant new niche in a new economy. Bud Nicholls, with his perseverance, his down-hominess, and his just plain class, has made sure for the past 41 years that we don't forget who we are, what we have, and what beauty is possible when we all pull together as one, e pluribus unum. And so, my fellow citizens, let's listen once more as the Great Falls Municipal Band reminds us of all that we are and all that we can be. And let's pay tribute one last time to the man who has made it his life's work to provide that reminder. Whether the tune comes from John Philip Sousa or Glenn Miller, Bud Nicholls has always found the music to choo-choo us home. Home to Great Falls, Montana, where e pluribus unum is alive and well and simply dying to dance. Bud, on behalf of the mayor and this city, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, help me give a warm welcome to the Great Falls Municipal Band, and let's begin the fondest of farewells to its conductor. This, Bud, is for you.
very much. Let's play some music. Jordan and Cohan epitomized American patriotism in the First World War, and this is a great selection of some of these things that you'll recognize all over. There was an epic movie that came out in the 60s called How the West Was Won, and had a terrific score. And these are all tunes that portray what the country was like back in the 1840s when moving westward. And I know you'll enjoy this one too. we've heard this in many different fashions. It's America's favorite hymn. It's the best arrangement I've seen for band. It's by John Himes. It's called Amazing Grace. And we segue right into John Kakovitz's America the Beautiful. Henry Fillmore was one of the great bandmasters, and this is one that is always played traditionally. And then this is E Pluribus Unum. This is one of my favorites for the 4th of July. It's called Americans We.
Good. Good evening. Let's try that again. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. If I don't get a little feedback, I feel like I'm up here all alone, which I am, and I'm nervous. And the thing is if Bud and Linda hadn't caught me at the end of a real long day of a dance rehearsal and plied me with a lot of beer, I wouldn't be here. So anyway. To quote the Bard, we are not here to bury Caesar, we are here to praise him. So, it's my honor. It is my honor to introduce a few people that are going to get to have the honor to do just that. And the first one up here is actually a person that most of us in Montana know as a big sandy farmer, but the people in this band know him as a cornet player.
And the rest of the United States knows him as the Honorable Senator John Tester. Please welcome him to the stage.
Thank you very much. Nice job. You still got it, bud. You still got it. Look, I was on the farm today thinking about what I was going to say tonight, and I revised this thing about 6 or 8 times. But I'm going to start talking about me, of course, because that's what I like to do anyway. Look, many of you might not know that I've got a degree in music, and the trumpet was my instrument. And there were 3 people that had a pretty big influence on my life. They were all from Great Falls. The first one was a guy by the name of Don Murray, who introduced me to the trumpet as a 5th grader. The second one was a guy by the name of Wayne C. Peterson, who taught me that I wasn't a good enough musician to have it come naturally. I had to work at it. And the third one was Bud Nicholls, who taught me that music was fun. And I needed to have fun with music. And in fact, when we were sitting here on the front row, Bud said, so when you were going to school in the 70s, you had a pretty damn good jazz band back then, didn't we? And we did. It was a lot of fun. The farmer's going to come out of me here. But Willie Nelson has a song, fairly new. It says, I don't want to be the last one standing, but then again, maybe I do. But you're the man. I mean, you're there. You're here. You're still here. You're still affecting people. And as I look at this band and I look at everybody that's out here, and we talk about music, and we talk about the impact that Bud Nicholls has had on our lives, and it's pretty amazing. As the band was playing the different tunes they were just playing, I was looking across the front row here. There was a lot of toe-tapping going on. A lot of good things were happening. And Mary Moe alluded to this a little bit, but the truth is we often take our arts for granted. Often take them for granted in schools. We often take them for granted in our community. When the truth is that arts are just as important as having a good elementary school or a good college and all those things. So thank you guys for making Great Falls great. And thank you, Bud Nicholls, for everything that you've done for this great city and everything that you're going to continue to do for many years to come. God bless you, Bud Nicholls.
Thank you, John. If I may be so bold to interject my own personal opinion, I'm glad we've got one person in Washington that's from Montana. So Mary, went through a lot of Bud's history, some of which I was kind of a little unaware of, but we have all known that Bud has not only been a director of this band and a director of a lot of different of the high school bands around this area, but he's also been an entrepreneur. He had Nicholls Music when he took it over from his father, and that turned into Bud's Bandbox and various other things that have been there. And a young man that, I call him a young man because he was young when I first knew him, that has also been an educator and still is a elementary band director in the public schools here, was also an employee of Bud's at one of his stores. And that is Mr. Hal Hugg over here.
No, Linda, I promise I'm not telling that story. But I do have one I want to share about Bud and I. First, I want to say, Senator Tester, I know it's hard to believe as you look at me now, but we used to share a barber. Bill Graves at the Riverview Barbershop, yeah. So, I know it's hard to believe. Bud Nicholls, the music man. This is going to be hard. Sorry. I started working for Bud in the 80s. 84, 83? Somewhere in there? Yeah. We're both old. He's a little old. So. At that time, Bud was running the Nicholls Music Center. And I was kind of his right-hand, left-hand man. We did road work together. We did all kinds of things. But had a couple of other things he was doing. He was also conducting the Municipal Band. And he also was the 4th trumpet for the Harold Nichols Big Band. And I'll tell you what, that guy, the only one you can compare him to was Pete Barbuti. And if you don't know who Pete Barbuti is, you need to YouTube that. Because that's exactly how Bud played. Oh man, Pete Barbuti was with the Tonight Show band with Johnny Carson. So you need to check that out. It's an excellent way to know what Bud was doing as his playing. Bud and I used to travel a lot together. In-state, out-of-state. We would go to conferences, we'd go to conventions, we'd go to meetings. We'd do schoolwork, we'd go in and sell instruments, we'd rent instruments to students, we'd do youth things so that we could get kids interested in music and doing that. Well, as we're working in the store, Buddy got a hold of a really, I will get through this, a really, really nice Martin tenor sax. It played wonderful. I started doing some history checking on it, and Bud gave me some background to check on it. The horn was built in the 50s, and the thing string, it was just a great playing horn. And I got ready to sell it, found a customer, sold it to a young man. He probably was, I think he was from Lewistown, if I remember right, Bud. And I sold it to him, and he loved the instrument, he took the instrument. About 2 weeks later, he shows up in the store. He goes, it's not gonna work for me. He says, I like this horn, but it's just not gonna work. Because the low B flat and B on these old instruments are on the inside of the bell instead of on the outside of the bell. So it rubbed on his leg. He didn't like that. So I took it back and sold him another instrument, and he went on his way. He's very happy. About, I don't know, time went by, a month and a half went by. I sold it again. Sold it, they take the instrument out, they're excited, yeah, it goes. About 2 weeks after he bought it, brings it in, the exact same story. Doesn't like because the keys rub on the side instead of being where they are today's. This old 50s horn didn't have that. Well, this instrument plays wonderful. And as time went on, we get towards, it was Christmas actually, holidays. And my family gets together, and there's a package in a big box, like a refrigerator box, all wrapped up. And everybody in there, there's no name on it. And we go in there, and everybody has to draw a number. Sure, my number got picked. Yes, that's what was in the box. I gotta show you this. I still have the card. So Bud gave me the saxophone for Christmas. He gave me the saxophone for Christmas. In the card it says, "You'll appreciate this horn more than anyone we could have sold it to." Thanks so much for everything. Most of all, your continued support and confidence. I've had the card since '85 when I got the horn. Ladies and gentlemen, Bud Nicholls is chairman of the Music Man of Great Falls, Montana.
Thanks, Hal. All right. There have been a number of family-run businesses in this town. And unfortunately, with the big box stores and things like that, things kind of go by the wayside. But even Nicholls Music had we're still kicking around down there, selling the piano every once in a while, right? Once in a while, yeah. But one store that is still an icon of downtown and Central Avenue is Kaufman's Menswear. And Bud, when he was in high school, worked for Ike Kaufman. And Ike has got a couple of stories to do that, but he didn't feel with his new hip that he wanted to get up on this stage. So he sent the information to Linda Fuller here, and she's going to relate a couple of stories from Ike.
teary-eyed, so I hope I can read these notes. Anyway, so as you know, when Bud was little, his family was with the circus. So he could have turned out to dress kind of strangely, right? If he looked up and thought, oh, that looks good, the clown, and then the acrobat, and the scantily dressed or whatever, or the lion tamer or whatever. But that didn't happen. As you probably know, he loves clothes and he likes to look spiffy. Well, part of that came from his father, who was a musician who worked at night, but not like the, the ones in the holy jeans or anything like that. He wore a tuxedo to play in nightclubs, and so he dressed very well. And I think Bud learned to tie a tie before he learned to tie his shoes, which is different. So in high school, he got this great job working at Kaufman's men's store. I'm trying to read Ike's notes here. So at that time, the store was located at 304 Central, the old First National Bank building. So Ike says that, and of course, when he went to work at Kaufman's, what better example than Ira Kaufman to learn how to dress? That's the epitome of a gentleman. So anyway, Bud went to work there, and Ike said, well, I don't know why he came there. Maybe his own father was trying to teach him how to work or something, but anyway, sent him there. So they said that the new high school kids that worked there were called the dusters because they had to, do this and hop around here and there, different things. I know Ike calls Bud Bounder, and he still calls him that today, because they sent him on all these errands all the time. Okay, run to the post office, run here, run there. Ike said that at first he was quite rapid, and he'd run to the post office and come back and run errands and come right back. And then he got slower and slower and slower, and what used to take 10 minutes suddenly took 40 minutes. And it's because everywhere he went, he made friends and started chatting, and then the time was going by. So anyway, they thought, well, maybe we better keep him in the store because, then we can keep an eye on him. And he was very neat and tidy, so they sent him down the basement to tidy things up, and there was a whole shipment of jeans. So they said, you go down there and sort those out, get the sizes put together and get them nicely folded. And oh yes, he could do that. So we went down, and he was down the basement, and he was still down there, and still down there, and still down there. So finally Ike or someone went down the basement to check, and yes, he had folded all the jeans, and they were set very nicely in a pile, but he had climbed on top to take a nap. So that's why he was down there so long.
Oh, the things you learn about folks, As I alluded to previously, Bud has been an educator in this area too. That's only one of his hats that has been. I know he was in Belt. I know he's been doing some things lately out in Sims. I know he had a long time here at Lady O'Lord's, all right. But you also had a little stint out at Cascade, I believe, right? We have a young lady here from Cascade who was one of his high school students. Please welcome to the stage Erin Nelson Cusack.
Good evening. I hope you're having as much fun as I am listening to this great band. There's a wonderful sense of camaraderie and accomplishment when playing in a band. And I should know, because as John said, I played for Bud out in Cascade in high school. And I know I'm not going to play the saxophone tonight because it would be really bad. So, some of my fondest memories from high school are of band. Thank you to you, Bud. It had a great way of creating the perfect blend of hard work and fun, like Mr. Tester said, to enjoy it. He made us proud of our efforts and even inspired us to practice outside of class. We placed at District Festival the year we had you as our conductor. I don't know how many students you've had over the years. I'm sure it's thousands, if not tens of thousands. And that love of music has stayed with each one of us. So from all of your students, thank you for sharing your love of music and instilling that in us. Sorry. The other thing that you gave us was your sense of style. As you've always been the best dressed guy in town. So I will leave you with this story. While you were teaching out music in Brady, Bud's first job, a student came home and told their mother one day, "Mom, music is my favorite class. Mr. Nicholls is brand new every day."
Musicians are known for their different sense of humor. So, Aaron, what's the difference between a saxophone and a chainsaw? Al knows the answer to this. You can tune a chainsaw. And I got a million just more like that. So if you want to know just how cynical musicians can be, go ahead and Google it. Like I said, he's been at Lady of Lords as a teacher and a mentor to a lot of those kids too. And our next guest is the superintendent at Lady Lords, Sherry Schmitz. Please welcome her to the stage.
The longest stint? Is that what you said? Yeah. I'm not going to take the credit of being superintendent. I am only the principal. So, anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I am honored to be here tonight to say a few words about Bud. Bud came into my life about 20 years ago when his grandchildren, Chris and Kelly and Aaron and Casey, enrolled in our school. And shortly after his grandkids started, Bud heard that we needed a band teacher. And for those of you that know Bud, you know that he was most willing and definitely able to fill that role at Our Lady of Lords. We could never imagine having a music teacher with the caliber, the talent, the expertise, the professionalism that Bud has demonstrated for many years at our school. I think there were two things that Bud was most proud of at being at Lords, and I think if I had to say, it was that he came back to his alma mater. Bud was in the first grade class at Our Lady of Lords, 1946 when it opened. And the second thing that I think Bud was most proud of is that he had the ability to teach his grandkids and to share his passion of music with his grandkids. And I would say right behind those grandkids was every other student that was in that building. Bud just loved being there and loved teaching those students. So he taught our 5th through 8th grade students, and his service to our community didn't stop there. He also he led our adult ministry, our adult choir at our Christmas Eve Mass for many, many years. And he just was just a very integral part of our community, not just at the school, but the parish as well. A teaching position, or any job for that matter, doesn't define a person, but Bud, music is his passion. Most of us are lucky if we get to go to a job every day that we like. We are really lucky if we get to go to a job that we love. Well, Bud got to go to a job he loved, but he also was blessed that he got to it was his passion. Bud got to get up every day and work in the field that he loved, and in everything he did, every thread of his life, music was a part of it. He shared this passion with countless students that were inspired and they went on to find the same passion in music and in many other areas. Bud touched their lives, and we are extremely blessed for that. Bud was raised in a musical family, and Bud has a special gift, an incredible knowledge of music, a deep passion for music. He has shared this gift far beyond the Lord's community, and I know Great Falls and the surrounding area and other places outside of our state even are very fortunate that they've had Bud has impacted their lives. Bud is a true gentleman, a great model in our world today, and I am so blessed that I've had him in my life. I've watched you direct your bands with more joy, with more happiness, with more of a beat in your foot than anybody else, Bud, and it's been our pleasure. I'll miss your laugh when I walking down the hall, because if you've been around Bud, he has a laugh like none other. And I'll also miss putting your grades in your grade book. But most of all, you've been my colleague. You've taught music to the students at our school. You've taught my own children. Thank you. But most of all, I'm proud to call you my friend, Bud. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Sherry. She alluded a little bit to Bud's laugh. So I have a story. When I was in 9th grade, it was my first experience, I almost said a run-in, with Bud and Wayne Peterson as being part of the trumpet section of the Great Falls Symphony. And I was brought in as a young guy, young kid, you know, I was even shorter then. They wanted to fill out the trumpet section with a person playing cornet, with myself and another young man who I have no idea who that was, to play and fill out the trumpet parts on the 1812 overture. Now, I don't know whose bright idea this was, whether it was the conductor's, Tom Madden at the time, or if it was some board member or whatever, but somebody decided, you know, there's supposed to be a bunch of cannon fire at the end of the 1812 overture. And somebody said, I've got a cannon. And so they rolled in this thing, and it's about this big, you know, and we're all kind of, oh, you know, sure, what's that pop gun gonna do? Well, we get to dress rehearsal, and we, you know, boom! I mean, the whole orchestra just got totally caught off guard, you know, by how big the sound was coming out of this little mechanism, you know, and we were all, you know, Bud was giggling, and we're all, okay, all right, we'll get this going again, and I'm just kind of looking around, and it's like, God, it got hazy in here, I wonder if there's smoke coming out of this thing. Anyway, she got boom, they hit it again, and 40 years of dust came out of the grid and the rafters. It looked like Mount St. Helens in there. And Bud sat there and giggled, and he thought it was just the funniest thing he had ever seen. You know, I mean, none of us expected it, you know, and of course we all had to get up and leave because they had to clean the place out before we could continue the rehearsal. So yeah, that was my first inference of you, because I was so scared. I was focusing on my own part. I don't think I ever heard a note out of you. Anyway, fast forward 40 plus years, and there's a new conductor, or a retiring conductor of the Great Falls Symphony that decides he's going to end his tenure with the 1812 overture. And so, okay, we're not going to bring in a cannon for this, but you know what we can do? We've got this sound system in here that can really pump out some, you know, heavy-duty gunshot things. And so we triggered them off of a keyboard, and everything was working great. And I said to the stage manager, I said, you know what, why don't you flash the lights a little bit? You know, we'll just make this a real big finale for everybody. And we did, and we're getting to the end of this thing, and some usher freaked out and pulled the fire alarm. And it was brand new, and these flashing lights are going off, and there's this real quiet, there is an incident in the building, would you please go to the nearest exit? And the entire audience is ignoring the entire thing. totally ignoring it because they're on their feet, they're having a great time. Standing ovation for our next speaker, conductor emeritus of the Great Falls Symphony, Mr. Gordon Johnson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, band. When I was first became music director of the Great Falls Symphony, I moved to town. I didn't know a lot about the town. I'd done some research, but I knew that there was a man down on Central who had a lot of experience leading ensembles, and that's Bud Nicholls. So I marched down to the store, introduced myself, and we had a nice visit, and I really enjoyed him right off, and we've had sort of a kindred friendship ever since. And he gave me these words of advice. He said, "It's a small community. You can't afford to alienate anyone." And if you work with musicians, you can read into that these people who play musical instruments have a sensitive musical soul that you don't want to upset. So they were really, no, wait a minute, I have to backtrack. Did I say it's a small community and you can't afford to alienate anyone? Is that Bud? I think you said it's a small community and you can't afford to put anybody off. That's the way it went. Words to live by. I still remember that advice. And Bud, after all the years that you and I have done this kind of work, I know that you've alienated fewer people than I have. So much has been said about Bud. I mean, the musician coming from a musical family, his children are musical. They've all contributed so much to this Great Falls community. And I think that's one of the really salient, deep, important things that Bud has taught all of us, is that music has the power to bring us together and make us one, as it has been said several times. But he's done it with conviction, honesty, sincerity, and love. So, Bud, you're the best. Thanks for being my friend, and lots of luck.
You have to understand what the kind of commitment is to the municipal band. There's a lot of people that have been part of this group almost as long as Bud has been. But even Bud has his shortcomings. There are certain concert weeks that he just refuses to do. And that is the week of the Major League All-Star game. We're looking for subs to do that thing all the time. And there have been a number of them over the years. Dusty Molyneux, who started tonight's concert, has been one of them. After Bud is going to take his little rest after tonight, we are going to line up our two high school band directors, James Mepham and Chris Cloker. Would you guys stand up a little bit so these folks can get there? There's also going to be some hack up there next week that I won't mention his name. But there is going to be a very fine musician, conductor, who has been part of this group for a long time too, and he's going to come up and say a few words. Former music supervisor and former high school band director at C.M. Russell High School, Mr. Dennis Granley.
Well, the previous speakers have failed to mention how lucky this man is. How many of us get to read in the local paper about our passing 2 years ago? And he's still here to talk about it, to read it himself. So
not everybody in Great Falls gets to do that. I've never known the community band, the municipal band, with any other conductor than Bud Nicholls. We moved here in 1979, and I was going to graduate school the next summer, and so I didn't see a lot of the band, but first time I went to the park just to listen, when I got back from school, here's Bud Nicholls conducting left-handed. My first thought was, he should probably go back to wherever he got his undergrad degree and get his money back. They taught him to do it backwards. But, and then I started playing in the band, and I remember complaining a little bit about his left-hand conducting to Wayne Peterson. Wayne said, "Don't worry about it, we never look at him." I want to point out the singular service of Bud to this community. There aren't very many other people that you can name, just a one-person community activist that's done so much. I think of Doug Wicks with the trail, maybe Arlene Reichel with the bridge, but singular persons who make a big difference. Go to the Pet and Doll Parade, there's Bud directing the band. Go to the 4th of July Parade, there's Bud directing the band. Go to the concerts in the park on Wednesdays, there's Bud directing the band. Or go to a dance at the country club and there's Bud directing the Harold Nichols Big Band. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. What the man does in between is amazing. Think about what's happening here tonight. There are 10 tunes we're playing. So 10 concerts in the season, that's 100 pieces of music that he needs to know and conduct, but not only that, to choose and get programmed and get the music out. There's a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes that you don't see, but you see the results of it because it looks easy. I also want to compliment Bud for nurturing young musicians. We've got, I think, maybe just 1 or 2 high school students in here tonight, but all through the years, Bud has reached out to those outstanding students in the high schools and brought them in and let them play alongside of the adults, the professionals, some of whom are 50 years older than the person sitting next to him. It's that part of educator in him that he just wants people to succeed in music. And as Sherry said, or I think, I can't remember which one, but it's fun. Bud makes it fun. And so we have a laugh or two, and we laugh when he laughs in all of our rehearsals. And it's just fun to go out in the evenings and then know that there's no pressure. We're all going to do our best, and we've got a leader who pulls that out of us. Also, I want to mention his sense of humor. A few people have said some things like that about his humor, and that laugh. I can always tell when he's in the audience. A few years ago, Bud asked if Dennis Dell and I would like to entertain at Miss Linda's dance recital in the other part of the Civic Center. Well, sure, we'll do that. So we decided that we could do that, but Linda wanted a name for the program. So, geez, we didn't ever have a name, Dennis and Dennis, that doesn't work. So we came up with the Double D Duo. So Bud, in his infinite wisdom, said, "Oh, sounds like a couple of boobs." We had to change our name. But I have really appreciated Bud as a person, a resource in the community. I wanted to come to Great Falls to teach because there was a music supervisor and there was a full-service music store. I had taught 10 years in schools in towns where they didn't have that. So one of the first trips I made was to Nicholls Music, met this guy, and you know, he talked band. He really knew his stuff. I heard one time, know your stuff, know who you're stuffing, and stuff them. Bud knows his stuff, he knows who he's stuffing, and tonight he's stuffing us all. Congratulations, Bud. This is great.
you, Dennis. You followed that. Music and the arts in general. It can be said that music is a jealous mistress. And for those that involve themselves with music on a constant, regular basis, sometimes the families take a little bit of a hit with a little bit of a lack of attention or something like that. That cannot be said of Bud. His family is first and foremost in his mind, from his kids all the way through. He has how many grandkids? 11 grandkids. Are there any great grandkids on the way?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Nobody knows of anyway. So, anyway, this wouldn't be a full and correct evening if we didn't have a representative of the Nicholls family here to share his regards for us. Please welcome son Todd Nicholls to the board.
Hey, Dad. What a wonderful night, and I'm blessed to be here and just to share it with you. On behalf of Dana, Aaron, and Karen, and all your 11 grandkids, they love you, and they wish they were here, but they're very proud of you. So one of my, I grew up, and music was in the house always. And I grew up with, Frank Sinatra, Harry James, Stan Getz. I was kind of a weird kid in the neighborhood, but Dad, you instilled a love of music into me and into Dana, Marnie, Aaron, and Karen. We all have that love, and it has gone on to our children. My 4 children were all involved with band. We lived in the Midwest, and band is big out there, and they were in a 3,000 kid high school, and band was really what set them apart, and I'm so thankful that they had that opportunity, and that came from you, Dad. I remember as a kid, very young, getting my first record player for Christmas and my first Frank Sinatra album. I was so thrilled, and I played that thing, and I remember it was the wee small hours of the morning. It was a little 45, and I just listened to that all the time. And just so many good memories. I remember going to concerts in Fort Benton as a little one. And probably one of my best memories is when you were teaching how to belt. He used to take me out to the basketball games, and I'd sit on the corner of the gymatorium stage in a little folding chair, and that place would be rocking. The basketball games, my dad's a sports fan, I was a sports fan. But that band, the pep band he would be conducting, would just ramp up that energy in that gym. And it was just amazing to be there, just to feel that. And I developed a love of just wanting to be in the band at that point. And from there, high school, college, and graduated college, and what am I going to do now? And it was, I remember Dad, say, hey, the military band's not a bad thing. So, 26 years later, after the military band, it's been a great life, Dad. And it's really because of you. So I thank you for that. This is a wonderful evening. And Dad, I just, on behalf of the girls and all your grandkids, congratulations on a job well done. We love you.
Hello, we are the YDC members of Miss Linda's School of Dance, and we all just want to thank you for all of your support and being our Papa Bud. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. And I'm so glad I had boys. That's just between you and me. This wouldn't be a fitting ending to an evening if we weren't to have just a little bit of music from one of our regular guest artists. And if you would please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Grant Stebbins, singer-songwriter, philosopher.
Alrighty. Well, this is something very special, Bud. Thank you so much for supporting me and, for all the right reasons. So, what's the difference between a banjo and a trampoline? You take your shoes off before you jump on a trampoline. When I grow too old to dream, I'll have you to remember. When I grow too old to dream, your love will live in my heart. So kiss me sweet, and our love will part. And when I grow too old to dream, your love will live in my heart. I have been a rover, I have walked alone, hiked 100 highways, never found a home. Still in all I wonder, the reason is, you see, once in a while along the way, love's been good to me. There was a girl in Denver before the summer storm. Oh, her eyes were tender, oh, her lips were warm, and she could smile away the thunder and kiss away the rain. Ever since she's gone away, you won't hear me complain. I have been a rover, I have walked alone, hiked 100 highways, and I've never found a home. Still at all I wonder, the reason is, you see, once in a while along the road, love's been good to me. There was a girl in Portland before the winter's chill, used to go out courting
happy hearts that singing like a clown. I love those dear hearts, gentle people, they never ever let you down. There's a place you'd like to go, and it's up in Idaho, where people always smile and say hello. Well, it's such a great treat to meander down the street. That's why I'd like the whole wide world to know why I love those dear hearts and gentle people who live in my town. I love those dear hearts and gentle people, they'll never ever let you down. When I grow too old to sleep, your love will live in my heart.
Thank you, Hunter. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, we got to wrap this up as far as the accolades of being voiced to Bud here. Otherwise, we're going to have to call out for beer and pizza for all of you folks. But anyway, the last words are going to come from the band itself. We've got a few more tunes to play, but the board decided to at least give you something to hang on your wall here. In sincere appreciation to Mr. Harold C. Nicholls Jr. for his 60 years of service to the Great Falls music community, including 41 years promoting musical excellence by conducting the Great Falls Municipal Band. Thanks, Bud. Everybody, up on your feet.
Got a few more tunes to play. Has been talking about my dad, the way I grew up. He had a great '78 record collection, and that was the days of the big bands. And so I grew up listening to like this next tune. It was the most popular big band of the time, and he went into the service at the start of World War I. Glenn Miller. And he did a great thing. Jerry Gray arranged it called St. Louis Blues March. Let's go kids. Lucas back there on snare drum. I don't think any composer has contributed more to American music than Irving Berlin. He lived over 100 years. And this is a great arrangement of collection of some of his, most of his stuff, called A Tribute to Irving Berlin by Warren Barker.
Thank you.
one of those rare composers that get paid before he even wrote anything. They would assign him to write a film like Breakfast at Tiffany, and out of that came Moon River, or Days of Wine and Roses, and out came that song, lots of things. But at heart, he was really a good bandman. One of my favorite pictures of him is when he was in All-State Band in 1941 in Pennsylvania. Anyway, he loved bands. And he didn't make any money writing for him, but he did. He put out quite a bit of music for him, and this is one of my favorites, called Drummer's Delight by Henry Mancini. And it sounds like Henry Mancini. Todd was in the Air Force Band for 26 years, and one of the perks out of this is I was able to, how would I put this? I got some government music. I think we paid for it with our taxes, but anyway, and if you've ever listened to any of these service bands, and they always do this at the end of a concert, they play all the service medleys, and if it's, depending on whose band it is, their song is last. Okay, so this is a salute to the armed forces, and it's by Robert Cray, and the last one on there is the Air Force song. And its tradition is you should stand up if you were in that service, or if you had a relative in it, son, father, whoever it is. So this is the Air Force Band arrangement of Salute to the Armed Services. I think there's a law that says we can't do a concert, a band concert on the 4th of July without including this. I think it's an official march of the United States, and John Phillips, who's his Stars and Stripes Forever. Thank you very much. What a great evening for me, personally. And somebody said, and I don't know, I think it was Sherry that said, you know, the greatest gift you can have in life is doing what you love to do. And I've always loved doing this. So I'll be around. Okay. Anyway, so I'm not really here full time. I can do that. So anyway, so let's have a chorus of Montana.